This is my testimony on how I went from being too lost and being stuck in the new age to Jesus. I'll start by my family background. I grew up in South Africa and I was raised in the ZCC church. And I'm not going to talk much, I'm not going to say much about it, about the church, but then I wouldn't say that I had a very deep foundation when it came to knowing who Christ was. So I was just, I would just go to church because that is what everybody in my family was doing. That is what my mom was doing. That is what I grew up in. So I never really had any relationship with Jesus Christ growing up. So, and looking at the church itself, they don't really have a very deep, they don't really have a rooted relationship with Jesus. It's one of those churches. I'll talk about this in another video, but right now I just want to talk about my testimony on how I went from the new age to Jesus Christ. So raised in South Africa in the ZCC church. So when I passed my matric, I was 16 years old and I went to the University of the Free State when I turned 17. And I had a hard time in varsity. I didn't know who I was, who God was. I was extremely rebellious. I remember people would always tell me about Jesus, and I would be like, oh, you guys are praying to the white Jesus. Like, I always felt like, oh, these people are so lost. Like, they don't know the truth, they're just deceived and all that. I feel like I was just being young. And I actually have no regrets because all of the things that I'm gonna tell you, they led me to Christ, and they, instead of me just having a lukewarm relationship with Christ, each and every experience that I had led me to really know him. So fast forward 2012, I dropped out because I was failing. I was extremely rebellious, smoking a lot of weed and drinking, partying with my friends. And I came across this book. I was actually given this book by my friend, my varsity friend. She came back with that book from home. It's called The Secret. I know a lot of us know the book. A lot of people that get introduced to the new age, it's usually through that book, The Secret. And I can see that it's very deceiving. Imagine somebody that felt like, if you feel like, oh, you've lost your life and all that, and you want to start over, and you just come across this book called The Secret. And I didn't really read The Secret, to be honest. I was just skimping through it. The book that really got me into the whole law of attraction nonsense was You Can Heal Your Life by Louise L. Hay. She passed away, but she's a renowned author. She has bestsellers. A lot of the people in the new age movement know who Louise L. Hay is. So I read You Can Heal Your Life. I have read it a lot of times. So that's how I got to know about the new age, about the universe. That if you just, it's like there's this genie. The universe is just this genie. If you want something, just ask the universe, positive thinking, and you're gonna get whatever it is that you want. So imagine somebody that has just lost. I thought I lost everything by losing my scholarship to study. I was like, okay, so I can just meditate and just ask the universe to give me what I want. But I'd never really paid a lot of attention to the book. But I did read it. I read it a lot. That the ideas were embedded. They were in my head. So I met the father of my child right after dropping out. We're not together anymore. So we were dating. I moved in with him because I didn't want to go home. I didn't want my mom to know that I dropped out of school. And this person he was a good person. He knew Christ, a lukewarm Christian, but then yeah, he was also a fraudster. So he taught me a lot of scams. So yeah, he would teach me how to do scams and all that. Yeah. But the one thing that triggered me to really go deep into the whole scam thing, when I was in varsity, I got drunk with some person from home, And this person had a I got drunk with this guy and I trusted him. And when we went back to his place, and then yeah, we had sex. In my drunken state, I was passed out. This guy decided to take pictures of me while I was asleep. So this incident happened in 2011. So when the pictures came out in 2013, which is like 2 years later, I was shocked. I didn't even know the pictures actually existed. So imagine you just somewhere living, and then you just find out that this disgusting pictures. These pictures were extremely disgusting. I don't want to talk about it, but then yeah. But I can honestly say that yeah, that picture was the reason why the monster in me was triggered. So after that picture came out, I decided to. I was like, I had this urge to prove, mostly to my mother, that I can, I can do better, because I did drop out of varsity and there was no means for me to go back. So I decided to to delve deep into this whole scam thing, and I started making money. So I used to hustle, and I actually thought I thought it was a blessing from God, eh? Honestly speaking, I thought the thing is with the new age, ne, it's gonna have you convinced that it's God, the universe is God, and which is extremely foolish, because we are not to pray to the creation. Why do we pray to the creation when we can just pray to the Creator Himself? You understand? So it's very deceitful, and I even see in our churches in South Africa, the Christian churches, the quote unquote Christian churches, you're gonna there's a lot of new age teachings, and I feel like most of them are very deceived. I'll be like, wow, these pastors are very deceived, because they do look like they're coming from a good place, and I know that most of them don't even know. They'll be like preaching about maybe the law of no, not necessarily the law of attraction, but then it's like the same teachings, this whole prosperity, trying to find money, trying to get rich, you're gonna be blessed. No one is telling people that they need to repent, and they need to find Jesus Christ, and they need to get closer to Him. So I was lost in the hustle. The reason I keep on looking down, I decided to write that. But in my testimony, I don't want to make it long, so I'm just gonna talk about the stuff that was really very impactful in bringing me closer to Christ. So I just decided to jot down some of the things that I want to talk about. So after when I started to like hustle, I was like hustling, making money. I didn't need school, I didn't need work. I used to look down on people that are working, like, oh, these people are slaves. You can just ask the universe. The universe is gonna bless you. And I would literally make a whole lot of money in so little time with the scams and using the law of attraction. And I would always feel like, oh, it's just the universe blessing me. And I actually thought a few of my friends to hustle. Most of them bought cars. They're living nice. They're still doing these things, right? They're still scamming, still doing the law of attraction nonsense. And like it's like I wish I could just, but I would pray for them that Jesus Christ one day is just gonna put it in their hearts to seek Him, and it's gonna show them the truth that whatever with these things that they're doing, they're just gonna lead them to destruction. And it never really mattered how much money I made, because I would always find myself extremely depressed, which led to the addiction, the marijuana addiction. I could not stop smoking weed. I would smoke weed all the time, and I felt like I knew everything. Like this whole new of attraction nonsense is gonna have you deceived. You're gonna have this huge ego, because you start believing that you are God. You create your own reality. And I also feel like me being too stuck and too fixated in the law of attraction was also not wanting to take ownership for no, like I didn't want to be held accountable for my actions, for the scamming and the manipulation and the lying. So I just wanted to do something. Like it made me feel like, since there's no God, I am God of my life. I can just fix this stuff later. If I'm getting all this money, it means that the universe is blessing me. And I didn't know that there's this, with everything there's a spirit behind it, and there is nothing new under the sun. So I didn't know, like when I was doing all these mantras, all these meditations, that everything has a spirit behind it. So if it's not God that is giving me all this instant riches, and it also created this entitled mindset, that even right now that I have my own business, and I really need to work hard now. I struggle with that whole instant gratification. I was so used to, like, if I want something, I get it now. I do it today. If I want money, I can make it today. I can just make a plan. Like, everything was just so easy for me. I did this for 6 years, ever since I started doing it when I was 20, and now I'm turning 27 tomorrow. So the 25th of January. So I stopped last year, a couple like two months ago. So it built this entitled mindset, like you feel like you're entitled, and you instant gratification. You don't really want to work hard for anything anymore. You just feel like everything needs to come easy. Everything needs to come easy because that's how you've been programmed, and it drives you very far away from God because you're used to just like, oh, it's so ridiculous, guys. So fast forward, 2016, I got pregnant and I gave birth to my daughter. I separated from the father. He went back to his country. He was not from South Africa. I was still, that's when I went ham. Like, I was still in the whole new age scamming business. I made money. I felt I took care of my mom. I felt like everything was fine. And inside, I was dying. But then I had, I felt like money was going to fix everything. And by the end of 2017, I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I had a tumor on my spinal cord. I just got paralyzed out of nowhere. Then I went to the hospital. They did the MRI scan, and it was discovered that I have a tumor on my spinal cord. And I remember the senior doctor. I don't want to make this thing very long, so I'm just going to summarize. So I remember the senior doctor saying to me that like, the chances of me working are very slim. I'm never gonna walk again. Like, that's basically what they were saying. They were preparing me for paralysis, like all this stuff. They want to teach me how to take care of myself. I could use my hands, but I couldn't feel anything from my, from underneath my breast to the waist down. I couldn't literally feel anything. You could stab me with a knife, I wouldn't feel anything. So I had the operation, and then when they did I actually like found Christ in the hospital. I would not say I found him in the hospital because even when I was scamming and all that, I would always have this conviction. I'm like, man, I knew he was there. I knew there was Jesus Christ. And every time I ate, I was a hypocrite because I would always say like, oh, it's the white Jesus. But then, every time I would sleep, I would pray. I'd be like, in the name of Jesus. Like, my spirit still prayed, even though my body, my flesh was like, no, no, why Jesus, all that nonsense. So when I was in hospital, there were these ladies that used to come, they were just visiting the patients, and they were telling me that I need to pray, I need to pray, I need to ask Jesus to heal me. And that's when I really started praying, and I beat the odds. I really started praying. I feel like that is when I started really experiencing the presence of Christ in my life. That time when I was in hospital. So the operation got done, and then I went home. I was paralyzed. In my heart, I knew I was gonna walk. It's like I had this belief. It didn't matter what they were saying, what the documents were saying, what they were preparing me for. They were like, you must come back we have to do a biopsy on the tumor. You have to come back after 2 months. Then we're going to tell you what was discovered about the tumor. I'm like, okay. I was still on the wheelchair. I couldn't, but I knew. It's like, I just knew, I was hardly depressed that time. It was something, like, as soon as I find, it's like a freedom when you find Jesus, You just have this freedom and this power. You feel like, there's so much power in the name of Jesus. I know. Like, when you are covered by him, you get in the space of power and freedom. It's like nothing is impossible, and you're not limited by what you see. It's like by faith now. And I was like, okay, like it actually got me to realize that if I was God, how am I going to heal myself from this? Like, I cannot meditate my way out of this. I cannot law of attraction my way out of this. Like, only the way I was, only Jesus could heal me. Like, oh my God. Now I'm walking, I'm fine, like I'm perfectly fine, and I'm so happy for that. But then when I went back to the hospital and I was still in the wheelchair, they told me that I had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I was like, I'm like, I get very detached to things like that. Like, I don't really like dwelling in negativity that much, so I didn't really care, honestly speaking. I'd be lying if I said I was like so heartbroken and so stressed out and so scared. I just had this this, I just felt like this power. I feel like it was because I was closer to Christ. So he just gave me this internal power and peace. It's like I just knew that everything would be fine. And then I recovered 6 months later, and I was walking. It's like now I even forgot that I was in a wheelchair just a couple of years ago. It's like I honestly forgot. It's just like a distant memory now. Hey, it's like nothing. Like that's what I feel like. Physical pain and physical harm. It never really leaves an impact in your life. It's hard as when you're going through it, but as soon as you overcome it, it's like it's just the story. So fast forward after paralysis, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna start saving Jesus. I'm gonna save Jesus. I'm gonna be done with the fraud. But then, yeah, I got seduced by the spirits again, and was like, I started missing that life of financial freedom and being able to have my own money, being able to do whatever I wanted to do anytime I wanted to do it. So I was at home this time. Then I moved back to the city. I left my child with my mom. My child always stayed with my mom, and because I was not fully healed, my mom was like, I just go, I will stay with her. And I always felt like me sending money and making sure that my mom is fine financially, my daughter is fine financially was enough for me. It was just, I feel like that was enough, eh? For some reason, I always took care of them financially. Like I always made sure that they had whatever is necessary financially. So when I moved back to the city, I went back to that life that I was living. So yeah, and now I was worse. I became worse because I became extremely promiscuous. Like I was still scamming, smoke. I became a pothead. I was smoking a lot of weed, and if you were to look at me from the outside, you think like, yeah, I was living the life. You'll be like, wow, this girl, she doesn't even go to work. Like, yo, she always says money. She's always buying clothes. I always said money. Eh? Like it was just so easy for me to make money, and I would always say like, I wonder what God you guys are praying to. Like, yo, this, like I want to teach you on free people. I want to teach them the law of attraction and all that. So fast forward 2019. I moved to the city back in 2018, end of 2018, and then 2019 last year. I Yeah, I had a demonic attack. I was attacked. I think it was because when you understand that God gave us dominion in the world, on the earth, like there is nothing that can come into our lives that is demonic if we do not allow it. So whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's I was also very much into astrology. Like I literally wouldn't be I would not I would literally remember your astrological sign, and I would not remember your name. It was like I was too much into the occult stuff, the law of attraction, astrology, numerology. I was too much into those things, and I feel like that was me opening a door for demonic attack, and that's when I got like attacked. So that's gonna be a video for a story for another day. But then it was so crazy. That's why people must know that demons are real. The devil is real. It's not just a fairy tale. That's why there's God. There's too much darkness. If you get exposed to the darkness that is in the world, you get to realize that there is God. So I feel like for me it was also being exposed to the amount of darkness that I was exposed to. Like, it was too traumatic. It was spiritual attacks, like very crazy attacks. I almost died. I was literally sick. I went to the hospitals. There was nothing wrong with me. They would not find anything wrong with me. This was last year. Eh? I was just weak. I couldn't. But then, yeah, apparently there was this demon that was having sex with me. Oh, it's something that I feel like I should do as a separate video for, because I don't want to make this testimony long. So then I started praying again. I was like, oh, I remembered Jesus. That is the person that I need to go to. That is the yeah. So I went back to Jesus. I went back. I started praying. I started praying. I was praying. I was crying to Jesus. I was crying to him. And I just got healed just like that by the word, just by talking to Jesus. And I just got healed. I got empowered. I got healed again. And I'm like, why does he keep on giving me so many chances the way? But then, yeah, and I was like, oh, this time around, I'm done. I'm gonna start serving Jesus. I'm done. I'm done with the world. I'm gonna start serving Jesus. But then I also feel like it was just the fear because of what I had, the amount of demonic presence, the amount of demonic attacks that I was exposed to, that got me so terrified that I was like, I do not want to live without him. So it was not me like trying to be genuine. Like also I'm like, I just want to seek Jesus out of from my heart. It was just like I was scared, so I was just like running to him because I was scared. So as soon as the attacks were over, I went back to being promiscuous, scamming, doing what I was doing, and yeah, hey. So it was horrible, 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 horrible. This time around, it got to a point where I started having suicide thoughts. It's like something in my mind was like it's like there was this voice inside of me. I think it was my spirit that was telling me that if you do not stop this by March 2020, you are gonna be dead. You're not gonna last. Like yo. So every time I smoked weed, I would always have this feeling that if you do not stop what you're doing, you're not gonna make it. Because I felt like I was just wasting away. Like I felt like I had so much potential, and I can be doing great with my life, but I just wasted all these years of my life just scamming. And this, even when I do something, I can never like really be proud of it because it's like, how did you do it? I'll be like, I cannot tell people that I'm scamming. So it was like, oh, it was so dreadful. It was very. Also the shame that came with it. So and it went from taking pride because I used to pride myself in it when I was growing, and it was like a form of power for me. I felt like it empowered me because I was actually like starting to be independent and had my own money. So it's like yeah. But as I grew, and I feel like I gained a little bit of wisdom, I started like yeah, the shame came. It was like you scare me. It's like you can't even like really can't be proud of that. The things that I was proud of, God was ashamed of. Like he was looking at me like, look at you, look at her. Matter God is a loving God. We serve a very loving. He's compassionate. He's merciful. He's forgiving. So no matter how many times I sinned, like he still forgave me. Hey? He still had mercy on me. He still delivered me, and I was lucky because the person that I was dating, the time I was attacked by demons. Ended up passing away last year, December. He was only 29. So life is short. Life is very short. And it was like after I just accepted Christ into my life again for like the millionth time. But then like this time it was different. It was very different because it's not like I was not sick and I was not yeah, it was just my mind. It's like I knew in my mind that if I do not accept Christ, I'm gonna die. If I do not live by the word, something is just gonna take me and I won't be alive anymore. And I honestly feel like each and every one of us, when God made us, we have this space in our heart, in our hearts, that can only be filled by Him. That's why you see people that make a lot of money, millionaires, they get famous and they still kill themselves because material cannot fill up that emptiness, that not even a relationship, not even a child, not even getting pregnant, not even getting married, not even nothing can fill up that space. I feel like that space, God, when He made us, He just reserved it for Him. So if it, no matter what we get, if that space is not filled by Him, we are never gonna be satisfied. We're always gonna keep on wanting and wanting and wanting and wanting and wanting. So yeah, I found my way back to Jesus. He saved me through depression, through wanting to kill myself, through addiction. I remember when I went like it was not even a fast. Like my spirit forced me to fast. I had so much food in the house, but I just wasn't hungry anymore. I usually after smoking weed, I would usually have a lot of the munchies, and this time I was living with my daughter, so I got my daughter at that time when and maybe like I got my daughter last year August 2019 August. So So yeah, so I had to take responsibility, and I just realized that me sending money home is not enough. I need to be with her. She needs to know me, and yeah, right now she's at school, and yeah, I surrendered everything to Jesus. I stopped the scamming. It's like I didn't know how I was gonna leave. I know I don't have any work ethic. I've never worked in my life. After dropping out of university, I went straight to scams. So I never really worked in my life. But then, and I feel like when I was scamming, I would feel so bad. I feel like that is what the addiction. That's why I was so addicted to it. Because I would feel so horrible afterwards. I would not. I would feel so. It was not me. I was pretending to be something I wasn't. I felt like I was pretending to be this, vicious scammer, and my heart was too big for that. I would just end up giving most of my money away. I took care of my mom. My mom, she's partially blind and all that, and my dad is never was never really there. My mom doesn't work and all that, so I'll take care of my mom. I'll take care of the people on the street. I would always give my money away, most of it. But yeah, most I spent, of course, I spent. But then I felt like I felt so guilty. I felt so guilty. I feel like that is where the suicide thoughts were coming from, because I was not being authentic to who Christ made me to be. I was just trying to be this thug, magnificent person. So yeah, I stopped. I just decided, I'm like, I bought like, I usually buy 2 bags of weed, because I was like, oh, I don't want to be paying tax if I to go buy weed and come back, it's expensive. Then we just buy. So I usually would buy a lot of weed. I always had weed in the house. So I just started after like this fast that was forced upon me by the Holy Spirit, because I just wouldn't eat. My body would not allow me to eat, and I feel I was just praying and I would cry. I was so depressed. I felt like dying. I literally felt like dying. And then I just started one night after smoking the last blunt. I took all my weed and I flashed it in the toilet. And I thought I was gonna have, because I'm such a dramatic person. I thought I was it's gonna be so dramatic and emotional. It wasn't. I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel. I didn't. I felt so detached. I didn't feel attached to the weed. I just like it was just weed. I flashed it in the toilet. I'm like, bye bye. And then I started remembering what I lost because of the marijuana. The first, like the reason that I dropped out of varsity, because I was not focusing on my studies. I was smoking weed and partying. So it was also like a demon that took away my life. I'll talk about that in another video. What addiction can do to a person's spirit. Because I feel like weed is a demon. Yeah, I didn't really struggle much with alcohol. I drank here and there. I would only binge drink when I was good. When I would, like, yeah, for some time, and I when I would stop. I would not have a problem with staying off alcohol for months and months on end. But my struggle was marijuana. So last year December, I decided to flush the weed in the toilet. I decided to delete all the scam apps on my phone. I didn't know how I was gonna pay my rent, and I'm living in the city. I have to pay my rent. I have to take care of my daughter. I have to send her to school. I have to help my mom a bit. Like, I have all these responsibilities, and I don't have a job. And then I remember that when I got saved, when I was busy seeking Jesus, like you'd always like I always had this idea when I started to start a business. And yeah, and that's how I live now. God just said to bless. It's like God was just waiting for me. It was like he was just waiting for me. He was willing to bless me. He was willing to do all these things for me. But then I would not let him do it, because I was too caught up in my own world and in my own life. And as I gave up everything, it's like it allowed him to enter and take control of my life. And stop smoking weed. I'm sober, and I'm so like I'm. No one can fully. I honestly feel like no one can be happy every day, but then I feel like I feel way better than I was feeling that time. And now it's like I see reality for exactly what it is. That life can be hard sometimes. And not things don't come easy. People work hard. I should not take things for granted, but I used to take things for granted, but things just came easy for me. So now I'm learning hard work. I'm learning the importance of hard work ethic, being compassionate, having compassion for other people. Because when you're scamming, you're like literally taking and taking and taking. It's like you become such a greedy person, like you don't even care. And when I see my friends, and I don't want, there's no condemnation in the house of the Lord, and it's like I would see myself in them, and I would see how much they lack compassion. I was like, wow. And I'm the reason why they are like that, because I taught them how to do all these things. And yo, it made me feel bad. I was like, wow, I'm not that, I'm not a monster. Like, I have so much compassion. So that also got me to wanna stop. So now, since I found Jesus, life has been life. I'm not gonna be like, oh, life has been so amazing, because I'm gonna tell you something. As soon as you stop doing those things and you wanna seek Christ, that's when you're gonna get attacked by the demon, the devil, because you are becoming a threat to his kingdom now. Now your eyes are opened. That time when I was busy in the world, losing, like, oh, I didn't have no nightmares. I didn't see no demons when I was asleep a lot. Like, now it's like a constant battle every night. Like, honestly speaking, I've been struggling to do this video because I feel like every time when I attempt to do it, I'll just get attacked one way or another. But today I was like, I don't have to wait to have a perfect camera. I don't have to wait to look perfect. I am okay exactly as I am. Let me just put on my afro wig and sit here and just make this video. So I hope somebody finds it, and I hope it's gonna compel you, eh? I hope it's gonna convict you to find and seek Christ. Now I don't go to church only on Sundays. Every day I'm reading my Bible. Every day I'm worshiping, and that is the only peace I feel. Whenever I feel like, because when life is like that, life is miserable sometimes. It's hard, especially when you're used to instant gratification. This law of attraction nonsense. I'm gonna tell you about all the rituals that I used to do when I was doing this law of attraction business on another video. And things will just come easy for me because I was busy doing these dark things. But right now it's like just hard work, eh? And just being content with what I have, and just being content with who I am, and just understanding that, life is life. We live life. And I'm working on my business. I don't sleep hungry. God sends customers my way to buy what I'm selling. And yeah, I've never been stuck. Like, I thought I would be stuck when I stopped the fraud and the scams. I'm not stuck. I'm still praising, and God forgave me, because I usually would like condemn myself for all my past mistakes, and then like, yo, God just, he freed me. And I was bad. I was bad, bad, bad. So whoever that is out there reading, watching this, and you feel like you wanna find Jesus, you want to know him, do that. Do that when you still have time, because the person that I'm telling you passed away, he was only 29, and I'm sure he was a very good person. I spent a whole lot of time with him. He's my ex, and now he's just passed away. So life is very, very short. So it's very easy. You must just find yourself a church very close to where you are. And if you cannot find a church, just pray and ask God to direct you to the right place where you need to go, for you to get delivered and get born again and all that. So yeah, that's it.